guys. It's Art Day, Artist Day, and I'm here to walk you through the checklist for Tuesday, April 7th. Before I do that, let me show you my new shoes. I got some new shoes. I'm kind of proud of them. It's been a while since I had a pair of new shoes, so I thought I would show my favorite students my new shoes. All right, now, Art Day. Before we dive into our checklist, let's take a look at a little bit of art. This is called the Art Book for Children. And I'm going to show you some famous paintings and things out of here. First of all, you can make art out of almost anything. This person made a face out of an envelope and rubber band. It goes along with this famous painting where he would use fruit to make faces. Isn't that kind of crazy how he used the fruit to make the faces? Interesting, huh? Let's look at a few more famous paintings. We already learned about this guy, and we actually have his painting still hanging on the wall in the hallway. Jackson Pollock. Here's a splatter painting from Jackson Pollock. This is a shape painting. Look how this artist uses different shapes and puts them together to make a painting that makes you think, like, is this a woman? Or is it a bird? Looks like a bird's beak. I don't know. Artists sometimes make things that make you, the viewer, have to think about what do you think the art is supposed to mean. And see if we can find another good one. There's one that I'm looking for. Here it is. This one is an old painting where these two are looking at something, but the artist leaves it blank, so you have to wonder, what are they looking at? And use your imagination. Make this white be whatever you think it is. Isn't that interesting? In this painting, the artist purposely left half of it the painting blank. Interesting. Now, so I hope you enjoy Art Day today. First thing for Art Day is doing our math. Now, this kind of math is actually pretty easy, and this paper is all about shapes. So this type of shape, which has a circle on the bottom, and then it comes up to a point, is called a cone shape. A cone is like an ice cream cone. A cone is like a birthday party hat. That's a cone shape. We're learning 5 shape names today. You should have learned some of them in kindergarten and first grade. A ball shape is called a sphere. Perfectly round like a ball is called a sphere. Now, I should have said this before. These are called 3D shapes. So we were learning about shapes for math. These are 3D shapes. They're not flat on a piece of paper. There's something you hold in your hand, okay? This kind of shape is called a cylinder. It's got a circle on the bottom, and then it comes up the side in a round shape. Circle, circle, up. A cylinder shape is like a marker shape. It's like a tin can. It's like a water bottle, depending on the type of water bottle. Cylinder. It's like a cylinder of Clorox wipes. Since I've got those on my mind right now because everybody's trying to kill germs. So a cylinder is this shape. Circle on top and bottom and straight up. A cube is a dice shape. It has a square on every side. Remember, on a square, all the sides are the same length. So every side is the same length on a cube. Sometimes we say ice cubes, but ice cubes are normally more of a rectangle shape. But when we think of a dice that you use to play a game, Those are cubes, okay? So a cube is a square shape on every side. It has 6 sides. And the last one we're learning is called a rectangular prism. It has a rectangle, and if it has a rectangle, it's going to have that rectangle on 4 sides. Rectangle, 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 rectangle. That means the other sides are not going to be rectangles, they are actually squares. But if it looks like a rectangle instead of a square, it's a rectangular prism. So remember, a rectangle, the sides are not all the same length. We've got a long side and a short side. On a square, the sides are all the same length. And so if it's full of squares everywhere, it's a cube. If it's full of rectangles and only a couple of squares, it's called a rectangular prism. And yeah, I think that's a good stuff for us to know. Let's look at this worksheet now. Up here, it reminds you, so if you need to, when you're doing your worksheet, come back to this spot and pause it, you could do that. And so right here, we have the names of all the shapes that I just showed you. Cube, rectangular prism, sphere, cylinder, cone. Doing this worksheet is pretty simple. You just have, it tells you the word right here, and you have to decide which one matches, or more than one. Okay. Sphere. Which one's a sphere? A ball shape. What you're doing is you're looking across this row, and remember, a sphere is this kind. Is a dice-a-sphere shape, a ball, or a cup? It is a ball that's a sphere shape. Now, cube. Which one is a cube shape? Let's look back up here and think. A cube has to be shaped like a die, squares on every side, which will be this one. On your worksheet, it's just like this, 4 problems, plus one more problem at the bottom. And the problem at the bottom says to circle the shapes that roll. So you have to think to yourself, which of these shapes are going to roll and which are going to, like, not really roll so easily, but kind of slide. Obviously, this one's going to roll if it was on something flat. This one's going to slide. So imagine yourself putting that shape on a table and pushing it. Would it roll or would it slide? I put a note up here for you that says artists, because it's art day today, artists use lots of different shapes. So since we're learning about shapes today, think about some of the shapes that artists use. Artists use a ton of different shapes. And so on this one, it says cylinder. You have to circle the cylinder. This says rectangular prism. Go across and circle the rectangular prism. This says cone. Circle the cones. This says cube. Circle the cube. You're thinking of these 3D shapes. Where have you seen these shapes in real life? All right, you are mathematicians. You got this. Pause the video and get your math worksheet done. All right, should be done with your math worksheet. And now back to this checklist. Now, I did put a note on the checklist for today to use lots of different colors when you trace today's spelling words. Next up is spelling, and since it's art day, make this pretty. Do it like red, yellow, and blue, or do every letter a different color. I don't know. Make it look cool. So that's my suggestion for today. Instead of just cruising through with pencil, be an artist and make it look really nice today. Use your best handwriting, use a few different colors, make it look good. Just a suggestion for art day. What I really care about is whether you learn the spelling words. Just a way to try to make it more fun is to make it more colorful. Now, like we already talked about, the main thing on the spelling list, which we talked about yesterday, is that when Y is at the end of a long word, a 2-syllable or more word, the Y makes that long E sound. Happy, sadly, grumpy, quickly, puppy. When Y is at the end of a longer word, a 2-syllable, it is usually going to say E. You need to know that when you're reading. It's very important when you're reading and you're reading those longer words, you know that the Y says E. And when we're spelling, you need to know that, but there's a few other things that are tricky on our spelling list too. One of the main ones is we got to remember from last week. If we have a vowel, consonant, vowel, the first vowel says it's long sound. If we have a vowel, consonant, consonant vowel, then this first vowel will say it's short sound. So when we're doing a word like puppy, if we want it to say the short vowel sound, remember the short vowel sounds are I. If we want it to say it's short vowel sound, we got to make sure there's 2 letters right there. That's why puppy has 2 P's. And of course a Y, not an E. Funny has 2 N's. Funny has 2 N's. Penny has 2 N's. So you got to make sure you do those. Words like baby, let's look at baby. We want the A to say its long sound, A. So that's why there's only 1 B right here. We got to remember the short vowel sounds are a. To make a short vowel sound, there has to be 2 consonants in the middle. The long vowel sounds are A, E, I, O, U. To make the long vowel sound A, there's only going to be 1 consonant in the middle. Bay, the A is saying A, baby. Now, there are plenty of things you have to memorize on this week's spelling test, too. And 2 of the ones that I want you to memorize, because they are common words that you see over and over and over, are very and only. Make sure you especially memorize these 2 words. You need them all the time in your writing. So please make sure you memorize them. All right? Give yourselves a little, woo, woo, I got this. And watch this trick. Oh, yeah. Okay, go do your spelling. Pause the video, go get your spelling done. Okay, you should be back from doing your spelling now. The next thing is writing. For writing, I want to remind you how to write a letter. It's an important thing we learned in 2nd grade, so we need to spend some time reviewing it. This is a letter writing template, which is in your packet. The nice thing about this is up here on the top, it leaves a spot for you to put the date. The date today, the day that you should be watching this video, you might be watching it a different day and have to ask your parents, but the date will be April 7th, 2020. Now remember, when we're writing dates, there's more than one way to write the date. You can choose to write it like I just did, or you can choose to write it with just numbers. 4, because it's the 4th month of the year, January, February, March, April, /7/20. You can choose to do the same thing but with dashes in the middle. You can do the same thing writing out the month or shortening it, APR for April, and put a period to tell them that you shortened it on purpose. 7th, 2020, like that. Okay, so those are some ways you can write the date. Now, right here, when you're at the top of a letter, the first line of a letter, you should write dear then the person's name. Let's say you were writing a letter to your mom. Dear Mom, comma, like that. Dear Mom, comma. You put dear, the person's name, and comma. And then you skip to the next line right here to start writing your letter. You say what you want to say. When you finish this line, go to the next one. When you're all the way done, you stop, go to the bottom, and put an ending word. It's called a salutation, but you could put from or love or sincerely. It depends who you're writing to. I'm going to do from on this letter. From, you put that word with a comma. So you skip from your main writing. Below it, you put from, comma, or love, comma, or sincerely, comma. And then you skip to the next line to write their name, to write your name. Who's it from? I will write Mr. Smith. You write your name. So when you see this, you have the date goes up here, dear person, comma, goes here, skip to the next line to write your letter. When you're done writing your sentences for your letter, you skip to the bottom, write from, comma, skip the line and write your name. This is how you write a letter. Now, one thing about it, when you are writing a real letter, if you end writing in the middle, you don't have to skip clear to the bottom to write from, but you do go down below to a new line, or even skip a couple lines and then write from. So on a real letter, this right here might be up a little higher if your sentences ended up higher. So that's something to keep in mind about letter writing. But I like this template because it reminds you the date goes at the top on one side, dear person, comma, goes on the other side. You skip to a new line to start the letter. When you're done, you do an ending, comma, and your name to end the letter. So we need to learn letter writing format in second grade. We've done it before, but I want to come back and review it with you so you remember how to do it. It's art day. So after you write your letter, go to the back and draw the person a nice picture to go with your letter. Not something you have to do, but something I think would be great to do because it's art day. So add some art to go with your letter. Pause the video now and go write a letter. Go write a letter to whoever you want to write a letter to. Back from doing your writing now, and it's time to take a recess break. So go give your brains a little break for a few minutes. Do something, play something inside, or go exercise outside, and then come back and we'll learn some more. Okay? And you should be back from recess now and writing and ready to do some more. Here we go. Next thing, I want you to read this sleigh rides. Before you do it though, let me just tell you all of your reading that you need to do. So you're going to read sleigh rides. Now we already know that A often says ah, which is its short vowel sound, but A often makes the long sound A, like when we have A and I together, like paid. Remember, we call that a vowel team. Or when we have A and Y together, like hey, and we call this a vowel team too. We also have times when it's a magic E, like the word bake. And the A says A because this E jumps, and this E, I'm getting all tongue-tied, guys. This silent E at the end is quiet, but it jumps backwards over one letter, makes the vowel say its name A, its long sound A, and this turns into bake. Well, there's another way to make the A sound, which is totally random, and we would be working on it if we were at school this week. So I want to introduce it to you. Other way that can say A is E-I and E-Y. E-I says A like the word eight, or like in this story, the word sleigh. EY says A like the word they. Some more examples are way, survey, obey, gray. There's a color that's kind of tannish, which is called beige. So when we see, the point is, when you see EI or EY, it's another time that the A says its name, which is weird. It's so weird. But it's one that you need to start learning. You don't have to be an expert at it yet, but it's good to start learning that and being able to read some of those words. So this story, Sleigh Ride, is a pretty tricky story because it has lots of these times when EI and EY say A. So even though it's tricky, though, I know you can do it. Yeah. Read this story, and since it is Art Day, at the bottom you can draw a picture of a sleigh ride because this story is about sleigh rides. So draw a picture at the bottom because of it being Art Day. Second thing that I want you to do, make sure you practice this week's sight words again, which I put a nice little picture of an artist on there. And third thing, make sure you read for at least 30 minutes. Go do those 3 reading things now. Sleigh rides, sight words, read for 30 minutes, and I'll see you back in a minute. Pause the video and do your reading. Doing your reading, and it's time to do some PE. So go get some exercise in, and yeah, go exercise for 10 minutes. Do some push-ups, play a tag with your family, go for a walk, whatever your parents say is okay for you to do. Go get 10 minutes of exercise and then come back. All right, you should be back from getting your exercise, your PE. And the next thing on our checklist says community building. But we're going to skip that and go down to where it says lift. For lift time, I want to tell you about a famous artist. You're going to do an art project, and then for community building, I want you to post a picture of your art project on Padlet so everyone can see how great it is. So for art, I want to tell you about a famous artist, Michelangelo. Michelangelo lived about 500 years ago, and he was famous for, one thing he was famous for was his painting of the Sistine Chapel. The Sistine Chapel was like a big church, a cathedral, and the king hired him to paint this, to paint it. He decided to paint the ceiling of it, which is really crazy. So he wanted to paint the ceiling, and he had to work really hard to paint the ceiling. If you want to learn more about Michelangelo, on our blog, nresecond.blogspot.com, I have the video. It's about 30 minutes long. It's a cartoon. It's kind of fun to watch, and it teaches you about Michelangelo. So if it's all right with your parents, and if you want to, you can go watch that video to learn more about him. But I also want you to have an experience painting like Michelangelo did, or drawing like he did. So if you have a table or something, tape a piece of paper underneath the table. Then I want you to get like on your knees or on your back and try to draw, or if you have some watercolors or something like that at your house, you can paint. Try to draw a picture while you're upside down with the paper actually on the table. That'll be like what Michelangelo did trying to paint the ceiling. And so you can have the experience being like Michelangelo. And then if you want to show us your picture, you can send us a picture of it on Padlet. I'd love to see it. Remember the last 2 things on the list. Have a fun day. Please enjoy yourselves and be kind. So hope you've enjoyed Artist Day. I'm excited to see what you do trying to paint like Michelangelo and how it turns out. It's going to be really fun.